so y'all better cook. I got big dreams, you walk talk, when I walk, that's that big drip. When I slide down your block, now they pissed off, like I really give a oh. I got big sauce, so y'all better catch up.
Another reaction. You already know what's going on, man. Yeah. Hopefully y'all night is going straight. Mine is cool. It's just as well, you know. But yeah, man. So apparently we got today or tonight we got Drake and Drake. No, not Drake. So XXX killer implicated Drake somehow. I don't know how, but he did though. So we finna go ahead look into it. I guess they was in court, and then I mean, yeah, he implicated him somehow because it came back up, and now, yeah, man, it's been a big deal. Everybody been talking about it, so we finna talk about it, man. I'm gonna let y'all be the judge and the jury, and yeah, man. So let's go ahead and do that though. Oh yeah, but before y'all do that though, man, look, make sure y'all go ahead. Don't just come up in here. Look, go ahead and hit that like button while you up in here. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here, man. And you know, yeah, just like that. And hit that notification bell too, though. But without further ado, man, let's go ahead and get into this video.
Because you were an essential part of that crime. When you went to spend that blood money on sneakers and jerseys, you revealed to the court the value you placed on the human life that was taken.
One of the men convicted in the 2018 murder of rapper XXXtentacion is now appealing his conviction, and his legal team is focusing a lot of their attention on a major celebrity, Drake. We are going to explain the connections and the arguments as we sit down with Mauricio Padilla, the attorney for the convicted killer, Dedrick Devon Williams. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime.
See, like, when I first heard about this, like, all right, because this ain't the first time this has came up. It was always rumors that Drake had something to do with it. Hold on, bro. Hold on, let me do something real quick. Hold on. Alright, we're good. Alright, so like, it's not like this is like new, or like it wasn't rumors about this already. Because when he first died, because you know they was like low key like beefing, whatever that is, but. It's always been rumors that he had something to do with it, though. But then I feel like, just my opinion, being the fact that Drake got all these things going on with him, and his career just kind of like going down like that. You know what I'm saying? His career just kind of like, I don't know, man. It's even, but I'm not saying he ain't a good artist. I'm just saying, like, ever since the whole beef with Kendrick, you feel me, his career just been right. So I feel like either this person is really just taking the opportunity to you feel me, take that chance, or maybe implicate him so he can get out, of jail. That's what I'm thinking. What y'all think? I'm thinking he really he trying to implicate him, or like basically like make it seem like it was a murder for hire so that he can get a lighter sentence and get out of jail and get Drake involved in the bullshit. And then plus with everything that's going on with Drake and the other allegations and stuff like that, it's like, who knows? And then let's look think about this. All of a sudden, after Drake decided to sue UMG, all of a sudden, this incident is now reoccurring. It's resurfacing again all of a sudden. And now Drake is getting implicated. And mind you, this is I forgot the exact year that X died in, but it was a couple years ago, right? Why are you just now saying this right now? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking about. So that's what leads me to believe that bro is probably bro is probably implementing Drake just for the simple fact that he's trying to get a lighter, like a, I don't even know if he got sentenced yet, but just so he can get, you know what I mean? Like he can get not, lighten his sentence if he haven't already been sentenced. If he already in there and been sentenced, then he just trying to get out of jail, basically, at this point. Because let's be real, Drake is not no street nigga. You know what I'm saying? So would it technically be snitching? I don't know. But yeah, let's keep it going.
I'm Jesse Weber. Diedrich Devon Williams, who's behind bars for life for murdering rapper XXXtentacion, is now appealing his case, his conviction, his sentence on the grounds that he did not receive a fair trial. And this is in part due to what his attorneys say is the exclusion of evidence that pointed the finger or maybe pointed the finger at other people. And one of those people whose name has come up is rapper Drake. So I want to quickly get you up to speed on this case before we get into these new allegations, these new arguments. Maybe they're not necessarily new if you break down this case. So last year, 3 men, including Williams, were convicted and sentenced to life in prison for the 2018 killing of the star rapper. And to be more...
Damn, nigga, that was 2018? So this nigga died before Nip. Damn. I thought it was... I for sure thought that shit was like 2020 or something. Like, damn, it was 2018? That's crazy.
Precise, they were convicted of first-degree murder and armed robbery in connection with the shooting death of the 20-year-old artist whose legal name was Jose Onfoy. Now, the jury deliberated a lot. They deliberated for a little more than 7 days before returning a guilty verdict. This was for Michael Boatwright, Diedrich Williams, and Trayvon Newsom. Now, this...
And see, this is what I'm talking about, though. Like, see how it's like a coincidence. Like, all of a sudden, he did appeal and everything like that. But I guarantee you, if Drake wasn't like a headline, we wouldn't even know about him doing an appeal, bro. They wouldn't even care. Like, you would not be hearing about this incident or him trying to go for an appeal and trying to like implement Drake and all that type of shit. We would not be hearing this, but because, hey, don't get it twisted. Them niggas in them these high top of the food chain labels and UMG and all that, like especially UMG, you don't think they got relationships with they not just with the network, the TV networks, they got relationships with people in the court of law as well. So what I'm thinking is like, what if this is just like, it just makes sense for them to be like, okay, so you want to sue us? All right, boom, we finna highlight this and bring this back to the forefront. We were letting you get away with it. We try to kind of like sweep it under the rug, even though people were speaking about it. But you know what? Since you want to go against the big dog and bite the hand that feeds you, we finna make an example out of you.
Murder occurred on June 18th, 2018, outside of Riva Motorsports. It's a motorcycle dealership in Deerfield Beach. It's a suburb of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And XXXtentacion had just withdrawn $50,000 in cash from a bank.
Eve Online on Mac immerses you.
Why would you do that in the first place? I'm not going to know, bro.
Bank. He was leaving the store with a friend when his
I'm just not doing that, bro. Here you have it. You a fucking like superstar celebrity, and you over here taking 50 out the bank. You know what I'm saying? Walking around with a. Come on, bro. That was not smart. Even if this was even if it wasn't because we don't know if this was like a hit or if this was just like a coincidence, like motherfucker just caught him slipping. But either or. Like, that was probably the most dumbest thing you can do. You're already high profile because you in a you know what I'm saying, suicide doors being, I forgot what, I think it was some 8, BMW, whatever the case is. Like, bro, you in a whole foreign, you know what I'm saying, with come on, bro. That was not smart.
BMW was was blocked by an SUV. In fact, surveillance footage from the scene actually captures this shocking moment as two masked gunmen, later identified as Boatwright and Newsom, emerged from the vehicle, confronted the rapper at his driver's
Hey, not gonna lie, but like, you see how this car is, bro? Me, I for sure would have let them get out as soon as they open the door. Or I would have like, nigga, fuck this bumper on this car, bro. I'll get that shit fixed. I'm out of there, nigga. Y'all gonna have to catch me.
Side window.
Still had enough room.
There is a brief but very violent exchange with one of the men shooting XXX repeatedly. Afterwards, they snatch a Louis Vuitton bag containing the cash that the rapper had just withdrawn, and they speed away in the SUV. Williams was accused of being the driver of that SUV. And the friend, by the way, who was with XXXtentacion during that attack wasn't injured, but he witnessed the murder. And the jury's deliberation was lengthy, but ultimately they concluded that the evidence presented by the prosecution was sufficient. It was beyond a reasonable doubt, enough to convict all three defendants. And that evidence included the surveillance footage. It included cell phone videos of the defendants flashing cash right after the shooting. It included incriminating text messages from Boatwright.
Hey, you know what I was thinking about right now? Do y'all think like, maybe, this is just hypothetically, I'm not saying this is what it is, but do you think like, you know, maybe Drake would have like, he's seen that the potential that X had, and maybe he really wanted to get him out the paint because he knew that he could possibly be bigger than himself. Because like, I even heard like rumors like for instance, like when Drake was on his come up, I even heard rumors like Lil Wayne didn't like, even though in the public, we see like, oh, you know, they be giving each other like, you know, big up each other. But I heard that, and it's just rumors, but I heard that like Lil Wayne, he didn't want Drake to be bigger than him. Like he knew he was gonna be talented and everything like that. He fucked with him, but he didn't really want him to be bigger than him. No. So that's kind of like the vibes I get from like Drake. That's why he kind of like takes I mean, obviously, yeah, you want to stay on top and you want to be the big dog, whatever the case is. But like, think about it though. Every new thing that comes out, if you can't take a piece of it and add it to his little repertoire or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So he can stay relevant and stay bringing out hits. You know, I don't know, just always end up bad. So, hey, what if he did try to get him out the paint, man? Knock the batteries out his back. That's what I'm saying, like, bro. This shit crazy, all right, man. Y'all stay safe.
Including one right after the shooting saying, "Tell my brother I got money for the new phone." And then, just minutes after that, sending in a separate text message a news article about XXX getting shot. And I also have to mention the key testimony of the trio's accomplice, Richard Allen, who claimed that he was a part of this robbery and he implicated the defendants. He pled guilty to second-degree murder for his role in this killing. Hey, so before we jump into this story, I have something I gotta tell you about. I host an executive producer show called Crime with Jesse Weber, and now it is launched on Spotify. Yes, you can listen on the go. And this show puts a spotlight on those really shocking, infamous, controversial crime stories. We go from beginning to end, from the 911 call to the verdict. We go through body cams, police interrogations, interviews with the players in the case. We want you to have a full understanding of the story from all sides, so you can follow Crime on Spotify right now. Just click the link below and in the description. Now, as I mentioned, Williams is appealing this decision, and a big focus of this is on Drake. It's also other issues that they're bringing up, so I want to get into it right now. And for that, I want to bring on Williams' defense attorney, Mauricio Padilla. Thank you so much for coming on, Mauricio. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for coming on right afterwards. So I wanted to talk about this with you, and we're going to get into more specifics of the appeal. But overall, big picture, big theme, what are you and the rest of the defense counsel arguing here?
Well, I am not arguing it. I'm not his appellate attorney. I was the trial counsel. So I'm just referencing what Mr. Patanzo, which is his appellate attorney, has stated in the brief. There's so many errors that it takes a while to even break it down. One of the main errors in my opinion in the case, which I had to sit through, argue, and live it, was the fact that in December of 2020, I filed a witness list. The state's reaction to that was to file a motion saying we want the court to strike all of his witnesses, that's not even something that's legal or that you could do. You have to itemize who you want stricken. You just can't shotgun approach and say, I want all of his defense witnesses stricken. But the state attorney did that. In a hearing that I had to defend, myself to that in that motion, the court didn't grant that, but the court instructed me to file a pleading, which was the nexus in my defense witnesses and what nexus they had to my theory of defense, which I argued was inappropriate because at the end of the day, you're ordering me to give the state a blueprint of what my defense is going to be. But I was ordered to do it, and I did it. When prior to Mr. Onfroy, which I'll refer to him as X for this interview because his stage name was XXXtentacion, which was the victim in this case. Prior to him being murdered, he had posted on Instagram, if anybody kills me, I'm snitching right now, it's champagne poppy. I'm paraphrasing, but something to that effect, right? So imagine the decedent said prior to his death, if anybody kills me, it's champagne poppy, which is Drake's Instagram name.
Hey, and I don't put nothing past it though, because Drake kind of and trust me, I fuck with Drake. Don't get it messed up. I mess with Drake, you know what I'm saying? But I'm more of a Kendrick fan though. But I mess with Drake though, trust me. And I don't put nothing past him that he wouldn't because to me Drake, he gives me the idea, not the idea, but he gives me the impression of that young nigga. Like when he was a kid, he probably used to get picked on, and then now he ended up being the nigga when he get older. So it's now he gonna abuse that power that he has. Cause look at him, bro. I was watching way before Drake was Drake. I knew him as Aubrey Graham, bro. When he was on Degrassi. That's when I first found out about Drake. I didn't find out about Drake when he started doing music. I found out he started doing music from his acting. I knew him as an actor, Jimmy in the wheelchair that got shot and paralyzed on Degrassi. You know what I'm saying? And then he started going into music when he started doing they started playing this video on Noggin. Noggin is the network they used to play Degrassi on. But yeah, that's when I found out about Drake way before he was Drake. So it's to see him and so it's kind of damn near I didn't watch this nigga grow up. I was watching him when I was a little kid. So it's when he be doing certain stuff they be doing, it be kind of bro, you just making Kendrick look, you just proving what he said every time you do something because you just be doing too much, trying to you want people to perceive you as tough, and it's just not, nah. But I don't put nothing past him putting the head out on somebody though, especially if it's something to do with his money or his
laid
position.
out in extreme detail all of my defense witnesses
And my nigga's
list, which
competitive.
included many rappers, because at the end of the day, the victim in this case was a rapper. He had feuds, ongoing public feuds with not only Drake, but a lot of rappers that are either signed to OVO or related to Drake in some way, including 600 Breezy, which is a Chicago-based rapper, and a rapper that's from Toronto by the name of, he goes by Top 5, which is Hassan Ali. And I had to lay that all out in detail. The court was fully aware of my theory of defense. Prior to that, I filed a motion to perpetuate the testimony of Livingston Allen, which goes by the name of DJ Academics, because DJ Academics was friends with X and had posted long YouTube, content regarding this beef. He actually posted YouTube saying that he was on the phone with X discussing the issue and the beef that he had with Drake, and specifically, X had either said or posted something about Drake's mom, and he had posted a picture of a Drake lookalike with semen on his face, and he wanted DJ Academics to post it on his own site, and he said, "I'm not going to do that." And in that conversation, DJ Academic says that you better be careful because even though, like,
This is my favorite
Better
tune you
not be
plug
about
for
to say what I
vocals.
think you
Here's
about to
why.
say.
If you're so in love, then why?
and I'm paraphrasing again, even though he's not a gangster, you may be pushing him. As a reaction to that conversation, X goes and says that he takes it out off the post off of his website or off of IG, and he says that his Instagram was hacked. I laid that out in my motion to perpetuate the testimony, which a motion to perpetuate testimony is when you have a witness that is relevant to your defense and that lives beyond the jurisdictional limits of the court, and that you feel that you're not going to be able to bring them into court. So I'm basically asking the court to allow me to go to California or wherever I have to go, depose this individual, and now with his deposition, if he doesn't show up, I could use it in my defense or in my case in chief, right? So I did that, argued it to the court, and the court, in a reaction, basically said, I'm not going to grant your motion to perpetuate testimony, just take his depo. Let's just take it. So, okay, fine. I set a notice of hearing, went and served Drake in his castle in Beverly Hills.
There's something that you mentioned, and I want to talk about this. So first of all, there was this deposition that was taken of XXXtentacion's mother, Cleopatra Bernard. She testified that Onfroy had this ongoing feud with Mr. Graham, Aubrey Graham, Drake. She said this feud with Graham included throwing shots at Onfroy and lyrics from one of Graham's songs. You mentioned that controversial statement that he made, if anyone tries to kill me, it was champagne.
You know what I'm just thinking about right now? So Drake is like damn near 40, right? Which means he probably was in his 30s around the time where X was alive. This nigga was literally like, and this is what I mean by what I be saying, like, you beefing with a kid, bro. Like, X was like a kid, bro. Like, that was like, come on, bro. Like, what? You beefing with him? Out of all, I would have little broed him. I wouldn't even paid him no mind, to be honest. Like, but see, that's what I be talking about, though.
Poppy. The question I want to start with as we get into the Drake conversation, were you arguing, are his appellate attorneys arguing that Drake was a part of this killing, that he was the one who did this, or are you arguing that it should have just been allowed, you should have been allowed to present evidence to suggest there were other potential leads that law enforcement really didn't look at into this case? So again, what are exactly we suggesting? Are you suggesting that Drake had a part in it, or that just it wasn't looked into and it shows a sloppy investigation and not a fair trial?
Well, in the brief and in what I was arguing in court is the latter. We are a defendant has every right to defend himself and to show reasonable doubt wherever it may be, and to fully investigate and articulate to a jury an alternate shooter defense or an alternate, a defense where someone else, committed this crime. Am I going to sit here and tell you that Drake was holding a gun or Drake? But the facts as they are
dirty,
like stated by X's own mother is that she knew about the beef with Drake and with Migos. She knew about the violence between Migos and her son, where there was a violent episode. She knew about 600 Breezy, which is a known admitted gang member from Chicago, going to South Florida and posting on social media saying that he's blicked up, which means that I have a gun, and she was concerned about it. She testified in the depot that she discussed it with her son. She testified that the reason that she wanted additional security with him the day he died was because of this beef with Migos and everything that we're discussing. So it was relevant, and for many months during the trial, January, February, even February 7th of 2023, the judge is agreeing with me. Okay, now there comes a moment and a hearing. He goes ahead and Drake hires after the judge enters a rule to show cause, basically saying a purge date. You have to appear for depo on this day, or I'm going to do a writ of bodily attachment. He then goes and hires Brad Cohen, a friend of the show, friend of mine as well, an excellent attorney. And Brad files several motions, motion to quash the subpoena, and he files a motion for protective order. We go back and forth, and the judge says, and the first time that Brad shows up to court, he says, you know what, I'm gonna quash the rule of show cause. He's hired counsel. You guys can communicate and figure out when this step was gonna happen. Okay? So we go back and forth. We can't agree to it for various reasons, and I'm not gonna get into settlement negotiations
Sure.
on the show, but we can't agree. We go into court February 24th, I believe, on his motions. At that time, James Beard, which is the process server that served Drake, appeared as a witness, and I wanted to show video that he took of the actual attempted service, where it shows Drake's bodyguards or the people that are in front of his house refusing to cooperate. It showed one of Drake's employees kicking the subpoena down the road that leads to his mansion, and the judge didn't allow me to show that. Despite not allowing me to put forth that evidence, the judge did a 180 from telling me to figure it out, coordinate it, take the depo, did a 180, told me, why are you involving him? Granted the motion for protective order, granted the motion to quash my subpoena.
I'm telling you.
Allowed, Mr. Cohen to
He had
argue
them people, man. He
California
had
law
them
without
people
having
on
a
his
California
side.
expert
I'm
there,
telling you.
and basically kind of chastised me about, why are you bringing him into it? And as a matter of fact, he even we had taken the deposition of one of X's relatives regarding this beef, and she denied it. And the court said in open court, even his relative said that it didn't exist. And I said, yeah, well, she's lying, because the whole world knows about this beef. So for her to sit here and say that she didn't know about it it's on her credibility. So despite all of this, he does a 180. He not only grants the motion for protective order, basically saying that I can now serve him again.
Okay.
And it quashes the subpoena, but the state attorney, sensing there's blood in the water, says, Judge, I'm going to renew my motion to strike all his witnesses. Okay? Or tennis, no notice. And he says, I'm not going to do that, but I am going to strike Mr. Graham. So he struck in the middle of the trial. He struck Drake from my witness list, which is completely inappropriate, considering the history of the case.
Talk to me real quick about why you think the judge did this, because in the appellate brief, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is an accusation that the court might have been biased because of Drake's celebrity status. Correct me if that allegation is wrong, and in your opinion, why do you believe the court ultimately wouldn't allow the deposition of Drake?
I'll say that Judge Usong was a complete gentleman to me, and it was a pleasure to try the case in front of him. I do think that he made various reversible errors, and I think from the beginning he made a lot of calls that were unconstitutional, not legal, this being one of them. I don't want to speculate as to why, but when you're dealing with someone like Drake, which he's not a celebrity, he's a super celebrity. He's like in the stratosphere of fame. So when a judge does a 180 like that, I'll let the viewers or other people figure out why they think that it happened, but I'm not gonna speculate as to why it happened. But
no, I get that. I do want to ask you about this, because this is another part of the appeal. And that is with respect to the testimony of this gang expert, which was excluded in a pretrial hearing. And the defense, my understanding, wanted to call Jesse De La Cruz, who they had claimed, discovered visual evidence that Drake could have had ties to the same organization as a co-defendant in this case, Robert Allen. And I believe the brief states, Dr. Cruz's research revealed photos of Mr. Graham throwing the same gang signs as Allen. And Allen is that accomplice who I mentioned before, who testified against his co-defendants. But Cruz also revealed that people who knew Drake were allegedly seen in XXXtentacion's neighborhood threatening him before he died. The brief reads, social media posts showed these same known Graham associates were seen in Onfroy's neighborhood threatening him just prior to the murder. And then they say even more revealing is this connection that Cruz made to Drake's song lyrics, because shortly after XXX was killed, the brief writes, Mr. Graham released a song entitled Triple X with suspicious lyrics. SMS XXX, that's the only time I shot below the neck. And Dr. Cruz found another connection between the murder and Drake's lyrics in the song I'm Upset. The song I'm Upset contains lyrics regarding Louis bags for body bags, the implication there being that Drake was referencing murder. But ultimately, Cruz was completely excluded from the trial, and the jury did not hear.
That's crazy. Now imagine if not the irony, but imagine just how like if it's just a coincidence, which I don't think is not a coincidence, but just imagine if it's just a coincidence. You just so happen to mention those things, and what y'all think?
Hear any of his findings. Mauricio, I have that right. And can you can you emphasize that a little bit more? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yes. Okay. So Dr. De La Cruz
The average person sees around 10,000 online ads daily. Here's how a man's life would change if he used.
All right, let's go.
did proffer to the court everything that you've stated regarding the song lyrics, the fact that Drake was throwing gang signs that were the same gang signs that Allen was throwing up in different social media posts. The court strikes Dr. De La Cruz, which is a known gang expert and well known in his field, has testified over 150 times in trials. They allowed the state to put their own gang expert, Detective Polo, which really bolstered a lot of what Dr. De La Cruz said regarding the necessity to bring out this testimony. I don't believe that
people who,
based on Dauber, which is the case that we look at when analyzing whether an expert is if it's appropriate for an expert to testify. I don't believe that was a legal call. I think it was error for him to do that and not allow us to put forth that testimony. And we put up pictures of Drake with Lil Wayne throwing up a Bloods gang sign and other evidence that Drake is out there flaunting gang ties. We put forth evidence of Hassan Ali, which is top 5 out there openly claiming on social media and video that he's Drake's shooter. And part of the theory of defense is to show, listen, even though these people are entertainers, okay, there's a gang related portion of it. There's a gang related side to it. And X's own mother testified that she knew about this, that she knew about when 600 Breezy traveled from wherever he was, whether it's Chicago to South Florida. She knew about it. She talked to him about it. So this case had more than ample evidence and ample reason to involve a gang expert.
To be clear, though, you were allowed to argue that someone else could have been responsible for this killing because you cross-examined Allen on cross-examination, suggesting that he had this link to Drake. But my understanding is you're arguing now that the trial court had put limits on your cross-examination of Allen, that violated your client's rights. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, you're 100% correct. And they did it not only with Allen, but they did it all throughout the trial.
Okay.
With Allen admitted that his father, known drug dealer, known firearms dealer, as the brief states, produced at least one of the guns that was used in this. When I asked him about his father and ties to Toronto and drug dealing, the state objected, and the judge didn't allow that question. So it was a constant battle for me to try and basically do my job and show where reasonable doubt existed. With Allen, with Detective Curcio, the problem here is also that the state attorney, on direct of Detective Curcio, which was the lead detective in the case, she asked, do you have any information that Drake was involved in this? And that was before the court struck him. So whatever the reasons may have existed, the moment that the state attorney opens up their mouth and says that, now he's really at issue because now
you're opening the door. You're opening the door to that coming in.
Yes. And not only was it an issue of her mentioning it with Detective Curcio, but she asked him, you actually were able to verify whether or not Drake was in South Florida at the time. So in cross-examination.
Hey, you know what I was thinking? What if like, because he's going at UMG, and you know when you go out the powers that be the higher ups, you know what I'm saying? Just like all the greats that went after, they end up dead or end up like just down bad. This is my theory though. What if UMG try to flip this like they try to flip this and turn it into like a murder for hire with Drake, nigga. That would be cool. I'm not saying I would want that to happen. I don't want that to happen, but I'm just saying like, what if they did that? Because they do scandalous. Like when they what? Challenge us if you want to. We gonna Michael Jackson tried it, failed. You know what I'm saying? Like Bill Cosby failed. You know what I'm saying? Tupac. Well, I don't know if Tupac was with them, but y'all get the point though.
I asked, why would you have to verify if he was in South Florida? Why? Because he's a person of interest. And then I had to further ask, well, what did you do to, and I'm paraphrasing, what did you do to figure out whether he was in South Florida? He says, oh, my partner checked social media. So then I said, okay, so in a homicide case, the best that Broward Sheriff's Office has for a jury is to peep his Instagram. So it was basically breaking down the poor job that BSO did in their investigation and the tunnel vision that they had, and the fact that none of this was in the report. So you felt it important enough to check and verify whether or not he was in South Florida, but you never memorialized it in your report, and I'm not allowed to ask about it.
Well, did he also testified, Detective Curcio, that he learned that Onfroy, XXX, had been attacked by members of Migos, right? Migos is the rap group that's associated with Drake. Was that came in, and again, you weren't able to expand upon that?
Not only did that come in, but when I asked him in cross-examination, isn't it true that the first time that the name Migos comes out in this case was a month after the murder, in the first conversation that you yourself had with the cooperating co-defendant Allen? He didn't remember. I had to refresh his recollection, and right there in the transcribed conversation, it basically showed that Allen, the cooperator, said the name Migos in the first conversation that they had. So it basically showed that I wasn't making this up. Like, I'm not creating it. The facts were there before I even ever alleged their involvement or filed a motion in court. They're checking to see whether or not Drake is in South Florida. That was years before I mentioned it. And Allen is saying is talking about Migos to the lead detective a month after the murder. This is years before I filed anything regarding my.
So he not only implemented Drake, but the Migos too? Bro, this industry is just burning from the inside out, bro.
My theory of defense. So it was just to show that this is part of the case.
Right. And the argument is that your client didn't get a fair shake, didn't get a fair trial because you couldn't expand upon this and introduce this. I want to move quickly past Drake and ask you a couple different questions about this appeal. Speaking about Detective Curcio, I understand that there's also an objection that your team has with him providing opinion testimony on cell phone data. Can you talk about that real quick, what the issue was with Detective Curcio there?
Okay, well, the issue is that Broward County did not list a forensic expert, okay? And they tried to put forth expert testimony through someone by the name of Camvani and through Detective Curcio, and the court allowed them to give expert opinion as to locations of cell phones and things that are specifically left to experts, because when you list somebody as an expert, then that opens up the doors to discovery that we can take depositions of them and put us on notice to the specific details that they're going to testify to as an expert. That didn't happen in this case. And what they allowed was this individual named Camvani. They allowed him to basically put forth expert testimony, and he put forth like a visual aid that he had prepared a week prior to his testimony. Okay, we were ambushed with it, and there he basically put little dots where he testified where the cell phones were exactly, and they allowed Detective Curcio to also give that type of testimony. Now, Detective Curcio's.
Bruh, if my head looked like that, bro, this nigga head look crazy, bro. Like, what the fuck? Bro, head is like a deformed walnut or some shit. Like, bruh, like, golly, like, bruh, like. Damn! shit. This nigga forehead is
Extremely experienced. I'm not gonna take that away from him. And
my nigga head look like a thumb.
and this individual Campani as well. But just because you're experienced doesn't take away the obligation of Broward County to do things correctly. This is a murder case and a high profile one at that.
Bro, head
There's a
look
number
like
of different
thumb.
other
I'm not
points
even
that
gonna
are
lie to
raised
y'all.
in this
Like a
appeal.
thumb.
There's things like allowing prior bad acts to come into this trial, allowing an out-of-court statement from defendant Newsom, which you argue was Williams' defense attorneys are saying was prejudicial. If you can, what's another big area of appeal? Is it any of those two that you really think could be problematic? Why your client? Again, I guess the idea is he deserves a new trial, right?
Yes, yes, and the two things that you mentioned are pretty egregious. The one of the Newsom is really shocking. Like they basically on redirect of Detective Curcio asked them questions and brought in a hearsay statement regarding a completely separate murder investigation that he says that he found without authenticating the cell phone, and basically said that Newsom had told somebody in some dating app or something that he had buried money in his house. And so the judge buried money, he could be catching life, and a really incriminating statement, but Detective Curcio didn't have to authenticate that. They didn't have to show what cell phone it came from. Basically, he just said, I saw this in another case. And the problem is that my client is sitting at the same table with this individual that now the court has allowed this, extremely prejudicial information to come in. So that was a humongous reversible error, in my opinion, that affected not only my client's case, but everybody that was sitting there at table, including all the co-defendants.
Moving forward, though, what can we expect in terms of a timeline of appeal? When will this be heard? When will this be decided? If a new trial is granted, how does that work? Because now it's about the timeline of events. What should we expect?
You know what? I don't practice appellate law, and those are questions that I don't really want to give misleading answers to.
Okay.
So I don't want to give the wrong answers regarding appellate. I don't really do appellate law, but at some point they're going to file a responsive brief. And I think that the court could invite, I think the way it is nowadays, the court can invite oral argument. Before, when I first started practicing law, you had the right to give oral argument. I think now it's only by invitation when the appellate court wants to hear your arguments. But yeah, I mean, listen, when I read this, this was an 11-week trial. The jury was out 8 days. It's not like if the jury didn't think about it and came back in 90 minutes and convicted our client. The jury struggled. They had to have struggled.
All right, yeah, so we're going to leave it just right there, man. We're not, So y'all see what's going on, man. They trying to get my boy Drake out the paint, too, man. Could it be UMG? Did he have something to do with X's murder? Was it a murder for hire? We don't fucking know. Stay tuned on the next episode of I'm bullshitting. Yeah, man. So look, thank y'all for pulling up, man. Make sure you go ahead and like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, man. And I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. I'm going, you bitch.
Every day it's like I feel more pressure, give more effort. Bill steady rolling in the due day crept up. Feel like I'm next up, life gon' test ya. My range close, aim, know the boy a heavy stepper. Things change, rearrange, ain't no crime body. Heart is weaving through the smoke, got my vision cloudy. Heavy stress on my brain, ain't no way around it. Navy SEAL when I flow, no you can't drown me. No brakes, all gas, get my weight up. A nigga on the road, fell asleep tryna stay up. Post-dramatic, a lot would say you too dramatic. The loudest one in the room, never want the static. Crazy how the niggas getting money turned into addicts. Never had the same habit, cut